Today I'm going to try to put all this suspension back together and put this van back on its 4 feet. Before I do that, I'm going to sand this fiberglass filler off of these welds right here. And what I'm curious about is if these holes in the body like this are going to line up with the holes on the cross member, because remember, this whole section of this van has been completely replaced. If it's not lined up just right, it's not going to thread in. So that should be an adventure. And then I'm going to put the spring back in, the wheel, see what happens. Before I get into that suspension work, I want to brace this up a little bit because this flexes too much. We got our little piece cut out and all the mill scale is sanded off of it. I think this little simple piece is going to make a big difference in correcting the flexibility of that, and then we'll move on to the suspension work. This is the battery from the 1990s that came out of it. So it fits. Isn't that lovely? And at some point I'll have to come up with a tie down for the battery. But for now, as promised, we're gonna bolt the cross member back up to the body. And there's bolts here that go in. We're gonna put the spring in, and it's odd to me because it has a clamp both at the top and the bottom of it. I'll figure that out again. Okay, here's the spring. It's upside down. I've got this part. This goes downward and through that big bolt there, clamps in. Then you've got at the top, you've got this contraption, and as you can see, I had to butcher those bolts to get them out so they'll be replaced. I'm going to sandblast this part. So this sandwiches between the body here, and as you can tell, this is where the body was replaced, straight across there. So I'm going to try to round this out just right. And then I'm assuming this kind of rides like that. I put these parts through the blast cabinet. This one I just kind of half-heartedly sprayed over, but bolts came out nice. The fine material isn't exactly getting all the rust, but it's better than nothing. So give these parts a spray with this primer that's designed for bare metal, and then some of this satin black. To find some replacements for these, I've got a big bin full of bolts here, and look, if you don't have one of these, you need to get one immediately. I saw they had them at the hardware store, and I said I want one of those for my garage. So we can find out that this is a 3/8. You can also do nuts over the these things here. It's just a really handy tool to have on hand. After rummaging for about 5 minutes, I found the bolts I needed. So it really pays just to throw everything extra in a bin and save it. I also use these for organization. Screws. Some electrical stuff. Washers. Gonna need that. All the pieces are ready to install now. I think how I'm gonna approach this is, after jacking this up a little bit with this floor jack, put one of the 4 bolts up here and then move over here to the cross member to the body and put 1 bolt in there. I'm not going to tighten anything until every bolt is at least threaded in case it needs to move a little. So again, this is the hole that I'm worried about because this is the part that was replaced. Let's cross our fingers and get one of these bolts. See what happens. Wow. I kind of didn't expect it to work that well. This side's a little tighter, but I think it's threaded in without cross threading. And this little bracket goes in here. Take that, because once that spring goes up in there, it's too late. All right. This little piece simply goes like this. That's the bottom. This has got to turn, and it fits over this bar right here. And this retainer that goes at the top of the spring, I haven't put it in place yet. I at least want the top of the spring to be touching the top of the cup up in there, or close. Now it's touching. All right, I just centered that thing up into the hole. I just discovered that holding this into place from underneath and placing this from above requires me to be in 2 different places at one time. So I'm gonna have to call in for some backup help. I think I've got an idea not to need 2 people to do this trick. So I'm gonna put this together like this. And then open it up as far as I can. And then drop it in so it holds itself. It's that simple. We didn't need 2 people after all, other than to come out here and help me figure out the best course of action. I went ahead and put the shock in place. It's no good, but I just want it to be in place. And then I've got to tighten this nut. This is a very agitating nut because there's no way to get in there with a socket. And you have to just do a wrench, several small turns. I forgot the shock goes in from the top down. instead of the bottom up. So I'm going to drop it in. It really feels like once I put this tire on this van and it's down, sitting on all fours, that's kind of like the end of chapter 1 of this van restoration. It's come a long way. A lot of people would never have attempted what was done here with this gigantic rust repair. But if you like what you've seen so far and you want to see more, subscribe to the channel and we'll see this whole thing through to the end. You know, it's so important with a project vehicle like this with no engine to have the proper air pressure. Yeah, that'll do it for this episode. I'm going to clean up the shop and get ready for the next big adventure with the van. I think it's going to be breaking these brakes loose. They are stuck. I've never really worked with brakes that are this stuck. The wheel is just locked into place. So there's going to be a lot of sledgehammering and heat and who knows what else. I've seen another van on YouTube here where they took a wheel and welded a big steel rod to it, like a square tubing, and stood on it and jumped on it to get it broke loose. I expect a very difficult and sweaty time with it, but I hope I don't have to go that far. We'll see what happens. See you next time.